Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, if you remember, what did we study in the last class? I think Friday we had the class, right? So anyone remembers what we covered in last class? Just a small recap. Yeah, just start speaking. Whoever wants to speak.
Prabhuji, can I say?
Yes, yes.
Prabhuji, bhakti, karma, jnana, prarabdha, aprarabdha. Bhakti
Yes,
means
very good.
Rupa Goswami told about two ways. One is bhakti, it means actually performing devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna, that is karmana manasa vachaha. And one more definition is giving up all fruitive desires and actively engage senses in pleasure of Krishna through bona fide spiritual master. And karma means fruitive activities, material desires. And jnana means speculation between impersonalism.
Very good, very good.
And prarabdha.
Yes, so prarabdha we discussed. Actually, in what context we discussed prarabdha? Okay, let's see someone else. Why we discussed about prarabdha? Who can say?
No, why we were suffering? Why we are suffering? Different kinds of sufferings.
Yes, so what is the root cause of suffering?
Sinful reactions. Ignorance. Avidya.
Sinful reactions.
Avidya.
Yes. Avidya, right. So, and actually sin and the root cause of sin is avidya. So I will once again show the chart, which we actually also showed last time. Okay, so before we begin studying today's session, just very short summary of what we have done so far. So in the last week, we did the preface and the first part of introduction. And then we discussed the definition of pure devotional service. What is that verse? I hope everybody knows the verse. Ashal Krishna Prabhu, please tell the verse of pure bhakti.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Tell that verse, Anya. Okay, who can say?
Anyabhilashita sunya jnana karma dhyana pratam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama.
Yes, very nice. Anybody else, please, because it's a very important verse.
Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavrutam anukullena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama.
Very good, very good. वो सबको याद ना चाहिए. नीलाचल निवासी प्रभु, can you please tell? Have you remembered this?
No, Prabhu. Only one line. Anya Abhishashilam only. That's all.
Please remember. Not a very difficult words. थोड़ा सा try करेंगे, can remember. Okay. So, okay. So, where will be? Yeah. Okay. So, we saw, we saw this Anya Bilashita Shunyam verse. Yeah. So, this is the verse Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhanamitam Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama. That means doing positive activities with our mind, words, and senses for the satisfaction of Hare
Lord,
Krishna
Lord.
Krishna
of
consciousness.
Krishna. Krishna, for the satisfied Krishna. And the word Krishna, we also read, does not refer to only Krishna, but also his expansions. Okay? And also his pure devotees. So when we say we are doing for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, it's like same as doing for the pleasure of Krishna or Lord Ram. Okay. Then we saw there are 6 characteristics of devotional service. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where we started reading. Kleshagni, Shubhada. So all of you should remember this, both English and Sanskrit. So we're discussing the first characteristic, which is relief from material distress, which is called Kleshagni. Klesha means what?
Miseries.
हाँ कहते हैं ना बहुत क्लेश है जीवन में,
Dukh.
miseries, difficulties. So these kleshas, now what is the cause of the kleshas?
Due to
Sin,
past karmas.
sinful reaction. So now,
Yeah.
why we do
Maya.
sin? This is what nice chart. That the root cause is avidya. Like in Yoga Sutra, they say, tasya hetu avidya. So the main cause of our suffering is avidya. Avidya means what? We accept this body to be myself. We want to enjoy in this world. Because of this avidya, we develop sinful desires, which are called
Kleshagni.
no, sinful desires are called bijam. You see the chart, na? Can you all see? From avidya comes bijam. From bijam comes papam. Then, because of papa, there is aprarabdha and prarabdha. This prarabdha gives rise to suffering. Okay, let me draw it for you. It will be easy. Okay. So first, we have avidya. Is it clear? Because of avidya, what happens? What's the next step because of avidya?
We do sinful activities,
No,
Bija.
first sinful desires.
sinful desires. Acha.
Sinful
Bija.
desires. So which is actually technically called
Bija.
bija, seed. Like for a big tree, there has to be seed, right? So the seed of papa is our desire itself. So that we should control our sinful desire. Then after that comes
Papam.
the
Papam.
actual papa we do. So sin. Okay. Sin or papa. Then because of this, then what's next?
Prarabdha
Reaction.
and aprarabdha.
Yeah.
Unmanifest reaction.
Yes. So actually we can actually make it okay. Okay, aprarabdha. This aprarabdha goes further into prarabdha. Basically, aprarabdha means not manifested. And then this goes to prarabdha.
Adapta karma.
And this prarabdha causes suffering. Okay. But it doesn't stop here. You know what? This aprarabdha gives rise to something called as
Kota.
kutam. Kutam. And then again, we have more sinful desires.
Page.
So Kutam is basically, so now is this clear, this chart? The same chart that I showed you, I just drew it because just for better understanding. So is it clear now, this chart? Any doubt about it?
Prabhuji, what is that sinful disposition, Kutam? I just missed it because of a misconnection.
It's like, you can say even subtle than desire, like even before Bijam, like the more Papa you do, the inclination for doing Papa increases. Got the point? So when we do Papa, not only we get the reaction, but also we develop a habit of doing more Papa.
Okay. So,
So, but the beauty of Bhakti is, there's a verse in Padma Purana which says, Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, Bija, Kuta, everything is destroyed by Vishnu Bhakti, by Krishna Bhakti. That is the beauty of the process of Bhakti, that everything gets destroyed. Papa, Bija, Kuta, Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, everything. Now, let's go back to the text. So, Srila Prabhupada, translating Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion and Bhakti Swami Sindhu, he's giving various examples from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures that how Bhakti destroys all the past sinful activities, prarabdha, aprarabdha, like that. Okay? Okay, we are in chapter 1 actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, so you see the 6. So in Nectar of Devotion, we don't see the Sanskrit words, but you are expected to understand that, okay? Like, what is the Sanskrit word for point number 1?
Kleshagni.
Kleshagni, very good. For point number 2, all auspiciousness. Shubh, Shubhada.
Shubhada.
Shubhada. Third, pure devotion automatically puts one into transcendental pleasure. That is Sandvananda Visheshatma. Try to remember. Not so difficult. Okay. So like that, we'll read one by one. So last class, we almost covered this first one, that is Kleshagni. Various verses are quoted here from Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives evidence that how Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, both are destroyed by Bhakti. So we discussed, for example, Prarabdha means the reaction which you're already suffering. Like, for example, someone is born in a dog-eater family. That is because of his Prarabdha. Right? But you see, Prabhupada is saying that even such a person takes the path of devotion service and begins to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He is at once fit to perform ritualistic ceremonies. So now can someone read from here? It is stated in Padma Puran. Abhay Chetan Bro.
yes, Prabhu, reading.
Yeah.
It is stated in Padma Puran that there are 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as follows. The effect which is not yet fructified, the effect which is lying as seed, the effect which is already mature, and the effect which is almost mature. It is also stated that all these 4 effects
Okay,
become
just 1 minute. So number 1 is Kutam, number 2 is Bijam, number 3 is, who can say what is number 3 in Sanskrit? Already mature, that is
Papam,
Prarabdha.
Prarabdha, okay.
And number 4 is
It is
Aprarabdha, which will mature later. Yeah.
Then it is also stated that all these four effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and become engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Those effects described as almost mature refer to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and effects lying as seed are in the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word kutam means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case where the seeding has not begun. From this statement of Padma Purana, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition, results, and how one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great chain. When one catches some diseases, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated, and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time, and as in the medical field, for can you please go up, Prabhuji?
Precaution's sake, Prabhuji. Precaution's sake.
Okay. So I'm reading from this actually online.
Prabhuji, please continue.
Yes. I'm saying. It's beginning, its fruition and results, and how one suffers. Okay, when one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time, and as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. The practical injection to stop all the fructification of seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. So should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji. So what Prabhupada is saying, in Bhagavad Gita, this is similar. Gahana karmano gati. So something like that, it's very difficult to understand the chain. We saw how complicated, like maybe I must be studying nectar devotion, maybe like for the third or fourth time, maybe third time actually this time. But still this papam, bijam, kutam is still difficult to understand. So therefore, what we should understand is that it is difficult to understand. So this is very difficult, this papam, bijam, kutam. But the beauty of bhakti is that by devotional service, everything gets destroyed. So that is what the shloka of Padma Purana. And then Srila Prabhupada is giving the explanation. So what is the famous example? That someone very sinful, but he was saved by all his sinful activities got destroyed by bhakti. Can you give an example from Srimad Bhagavatam?
Jamil.
Yes, Ajamil is a classical case. So therefore, the next example here is Ajamil. So who will continue reading? Nilashil Prabhu, you ready?
So Prabhuji, Aprarabdha and Sanchit, are they same?
Aparad and
Aprarabdha and Sanchit. Like we say Prarabdha and Aprarabdha. So
yes.
also Prarabdha and Sanchit. So are they same or different?
Sanchit. Sanchit means Sanchit karma. You can say accumulated karma, right?
Yeah, so the Prarabdha karma and Sanchit karma. So like that. So here
I have not heard that word so often. I don't know. In this context, it's like karma is either aprarabdha or prarabdha. Prarabdha means already the fruits are seen actually. That means already started suffering. Aprarabdha means in the process of making.
Okay. That is a reserve.
Yeah. Okay, so who will continue reading next?
Yeah,
Please?
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Sukhdev points out.
No, in this,
In
this connection.
Yeah, okay, starting from the connection. In this connection, Sukhdev Goswami speaks in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse number 17, about the story of Ajamil, who began life as a fine and dutiful Brahmana, but in his young manhood became wholly corrupted by a prostitute. At the end of this wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana, Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. So they points out that austerity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for contracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them, one cannot remove the sinful desired seed from the heart, as was the case with Ajamila in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Mahamantra or Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as recommended by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopt the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reaction of sinful activities. By performing Vedic ritualistic activities, by giving money in charity, and by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reaction of sinful activities. But at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activities. For example, a person suffering from venereal disease on account of excessive indulgence of sex life has undergone some severe pain in medical treatment, and he is then cured for timing. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart, he must again endure the same thing and become a victim of the same disease. So medical treatment may give temporary relief from the disease of such venereal disease, but unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abnormal, it is impossible to be saved from such repeated disease. Similarly, the ritual performance, charity, and austerity, which are recommended in the Vedas, may temporarily stop one from acting in sinful ways. But as long as the heart is not clear, one will have to repeat sinful activities again and again.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So you see, if you read the sixth canto Ajamil story, something very interesting. It is said that if you do a sinful activity, you can do some prashchita. बोलते ना प्रायश्चित करो पाप किया. But so one can do some austerity, some tapasya, some giving dan. So, but the problem is that again he will do sin. Why is that? Can someone tell the reason? Like many people do, na, they go to some dham, they do some prayashchit, they take bath in some holy rivers, they give some dan. But after that, what happens? When they come back, they again do. It's like bathing of an elephant. When elephant goes out, takes a bath, but when he comes out, he again covers itself with dust. So this is like elephant bath. Kunjara snan. Bhagavatam mein bola gaya hai in 6th canto that such kind of prashchit is like kunjara snan. You do prashchit, you are cleansed, but you come out, again you cover yourself with sin again. So what is the root cause? Why prashchit is not permanent cause? Can someone please say?
Supposing because the bijam is not destroyed. So
Yes, thank you, Aveshatan. Because bijam, we saw in this chart that till the time this bijam is there, we will do sin again and again. So suppose we do some pap, so we can do some prashchit and maybe we'll not get prarabdha, but again we'll do pap. The root is this bijam. Bijam has to be destroyed. This seed of doing sin, that means the desire to do sinful activity. And Prabhupada gives example. Sometimes, people, they are too much into material enjoyment. They suffer disease. So once they suffer disease, for some time they say, okay, I'll not enjoy. But as soon as they're cured, then again, they start enjoying. Right? Sometimes, people, they drink liquor and suppose they develop liver cancer. So doctors don't drink liquor. For some time they will stop, but again they start drinking. Why? Because that bija, that root is there. It again grows. You cut the plant, but if the root is there, it will again grow again. So the only way to remove that bija, उस पाप का जो बीज है, that can be removed only by bhakti. Okay? Like in the case of Ajamil. Once he started chanting the name of Narayan, he started doing bhakti, then all his sinful desires were gone. Otherwise, tapasa, brahmacharyena, samena, damena cha, we can do all that, but that is temporary. Okay. So like different yoga process and all, that is not permanent. But bhakti yoga is permanent solution. Why? Because it removes the sinful desire itself. Okay. Yes, someone can just read from here. There's another verse from 4th canto, 22nd chapter, where Sanat Kumara says to Pitu Maharaj. Can someone read from here?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
There is another evidence in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 22nd chapter, verse 39, wherein Sanat Kumara says, "My dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence as if tied up by a strong rope. Only the devotee can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystics or great ritual performers cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness in order to be free from the tight knots of false ego and entanglement in material activities."
Okay, thank you. So there's the verse. Can you see the screen? Very beautiful verse. Yat pad pankaj palas vilas bhaktya karmashayam graitam ud ud gratayanti santa tadvannariktamatayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. Someone can read the translation, please.
The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva.
Yes, so Sanat Kumar is saying all the yogis and gyanis, they have to stop all this fruitive activities, karma. But it's very difficult to stop it. Why? Because the root, that bijam remains. But by doing bhakti to Vasudeva, so the knot is completely destroyed. Knot of avidya. Avidya and the sinful desire gets destroyed by doing bhakti to Vasudeva. Therefore, bhaja Vasudeva. Okay. Okay, last, I think this is the last paragraph in this section. So those who have not read till now, Achal Krishna Prabhu. Please volunteer, Anjali Mataji.
This tight knot of false ego is due to ignorance. As long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entanglement in material contamination. This ignorance
Okay, just 1 minute. So what is the Sanskrit of ignorance?
avidya.
Avidya, that's what we said. So the root cause is avidya. And that is because ignorant about identity, because we don't know that we are Krishna's servant. Yes.
This
Continue,
ignorance of
continue.
actual knowledge can also be dissipated by Krishna consciousness, as is confirmed in the Padma Puran as follows. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is highest enlightenment, and when such enlightenment is there, it is like a blazing forest fire, killing all the inauspiciousness, snake of desire. The example is being given in this connection that when there is forest fire, the extensive blazing automatically kills all the snake in the forest. There are many snakes on the ground of the forest. And when a fire takes place, it burns the dried foliage and the snakes are immediately attacked. Animals who have four legs can flee from the fire or can at least try to flee, but the snake are immediately killed. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snake of ignorance are immediately killed.
Thank you. So what is analogy? So you know that in exam we ask analogies, right? So what is that analogy of fire and snake? Nalini
By
Mataji?
doing devotional service,
Yes,
immediately
Nalini Mataji. Go
all
ahead.
simple reactions are all vanished.
So what is snake here?
Sinful desire for
Yes, sinful desires. And the fire is devotion service. So Prabhupada says just like if there's a fire in the forest, animals may run away, but snakes cannot, right? Snakes are immediately killed. Similarly, when there is fire of devotion service that burns all our sinful desires, all our material desires, which are like snakes. It gets, otherwise, snakes are very dangerous. Why it's compared to snake? Because snakes are very poisonous. They can kill you. Similarly, this material desires are greatest enemy. Like Sir was telling today's class that how we all have these Ravan-like qualities within us. Pride, lust. On our own, we can't kill it. We don't have the strength. But we can kill it by the power of devotion service, power of bhakti, by mercy of Krishna or Lord Ram. We can kill all these demons within us or all these snakes which are there. So therefore, the most important characteristics of pure devotion service is Kleshagni. It brings an end to all kinds of sufferings. Kleshagni. Second, Shubhada, all auspicious. So let's continue reading.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Srila Rupa Goswami has given a definition of auspiciousness. He says that actual auspiciousness means welfare activities for all the people of the world. At the present moment, groups of people are engaged in welfare activities in terms of society, community, or nation. There is even an attempt in the form of the United Nations for World Health Activity. But due to the shortcomings of limited national activities, such a general mass welfare program for the whole world is not practically possible. The Krishna conscious movement, however, is so nice that it can render the highest benefit to the entire human race. Everyone can be attracted by this movement and everyone can feel the result. Therefore, Rupa Goswami and other learned scholars agree that a broad propaganda program for the Krishna conscious movement of devotional service all over the world is the highest humanitarian welfare activity.
Okay. So Shubhada, when we say auspicious, Shubh. So Prabhupada Singh ki sabse acha Shubh karya kya hai? What is the best auspicious thing? Is giving this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is giving the example of United Nations. So people thought of that United Nations will help people. But we are seeing there's no much effect. Wars are still going on. But Krishna consciousness can render highest benefit. Therefore, that's the highest Shubha, Shubhada. Okay, let's continue reading.
How the Krishna consciousness movement can attract the attention of the whole world and how each and every man can feel pleasure in this Krishna consciousness is stated in the Padma Puran as follows. A person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and to be pleasing everyone in the world. In addition to human society, he is pleasing even the trees and animals because they also become attracted by such a movement. A practical example of this was shown by Lord Chaitanya when he was traveling through the forest of Jharkhand in central India for spreading his Sankirtan movement. The tigers, the elephants, the deer, and all the other wild animals joined him and were participating in their own ways by dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. Furthermore, a person engaged in Krishna consciousness, acting in devotional service, can develop all the good qualities that are generally found in the demigods. It is said by Sukadev Goswami in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 18th chapter, verse 12. My dear king, persons who have unflinching faith in the Krishna and are without any duplicity can develop all the good qualities of the demigods. On account of a devotee's high grade of Krishna consciousness, even the demigods like to live with him. And therefore, it can be understood that the qualities of the demigods have developed within his body.
Continue.
On the other hand, a person who is not in Krishna consciousness has no good qualities. He may be highly educated from the academic point of view, but in the actual field of his activities, he can be seen to be baser than the animals. Even though a person is highly educated academically, if he cannot go beyond the sphere of mental activities, then he is sure to perform only material activities and thus remain impure. There are so many persons in the modern world who have been highly educated in the materialistic universities, but it is seen that they cannot take up the movement of Krishna consciousness and develop the high qualities of the demigods. For example, a Krishna conscious boy, even if he is not very well educated by the university standard, can immediately give up all illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication. Whereas those who are not in Krishna consciousness, although very highly educated, are often drunkards, meat eaters, sex mongers, and gamblers. These are practical proofs of how a Krishna conscious person become highly developed in good qualities, whereas a person who is not in Krishna consciousness cannot do so. We experience that even a young boy in Krishna consciousness is unattached to cinemas, nightclubs, naked dance shows, restaurants, liquor shops, etc. He becomes completely freed. He saves his valuable time from being extravagantly spent in the way of smoking, drinking, attending the theater, and dancing.
Okay. Thank you. So
Correct.
see how Prabhupada is practically proving that why bhakti is Shubhada. Because a person who does bhakti, he develops all good qualities. What is the verse from Bhagavatam? Anyone knows? Which the Prabhupada quoted? If canto. No one knows. Yashyasti bhaktir. Very famous verse.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yashyasti bhaktir bhagvatya kinchana
Sarvair
sarvair samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahaguna manoratena satudhavato vai. That means one who does bhakti, all the good qualities of demigods develop in him. But who does not do bhakti, he doesn't have any good qualities. And Prabhupada, how he gives a practical example, people have big degrees from universities, but they're engaged in these 4 things. But a Krishna conscious person, he may not be very educated materially, but at least he follows these basic rules. So who is better? A very advanced so-called scholar and breaking all rules, or a less educated person and following the rules? Obviously the second one, right? Yeah. So this is how, therefore, devotion service brings all good qualities. Therefore, it is Shubhada. Okay, so we'll continue. Now we'll come to the third quality, which is happiness in Krishna. Actually, in the order, Sanskrit order, this comes in the 5th, but doesn't matter. Prabhupada is keeping this as a 3rd. Okay, so those who have not read till now, any volunteers to read this?
Happiness in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Srila Rupa Goswami has analyzed the different sources of happiness. He has divided happiness into 3 categories, which are happiness derived from material enjoyment, second, happiness derived from identifying oneself with the Supreme Brahman, and third, happiness derived from Krishna consciousness. In the Tantra Shastra, Lord Shiva speaks to his wife Sati in this way: my dear wife, a person who has surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Govinda and who has thus developed pure Krishna consciousness can be very easily awarded all the perfections desired by the impersonalists. And beyond this, he can enjoy the happiness achieved by the pure devotees. Happiness derived from pure devotional service is the highest because it is eternal. The happiness derived from material perfection or understanding oneself to the Brahman is inferior because it is temporary. There is no preventing one's falling down from material happiness, and there is even every chance of falling down from the spiritual happiness derived out of identifying oneself with the impersonal Brahman.
Okay, one minute. So, what is happiness? Like we all are looking after looking for happiness, right? So, if you analyze what Prabhupada is saying, what are the three kinds of happiness?
Happiness from the material environment. Prabhuji, this is karmis. We will say like that. Karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas.
Yes, exactly. Karmis, Jnanis, and Bhaktas also we can say. Or we can say Bhoganand, like one is, like we can say Anand because of sense gratification. Then Brahmanand is Anand due to Brahman realization. And third is Bhakti, the Anand due to Bhakti. So let me just show you a chart, Prabhupada, how he explains, So Bhakti, happiness is superior to sense satisfaction. Happiness due to sense satisfaction. What is the problem? What is the problem with happiness due to sense satisfaction?
It is temporary and it also brings in miseries. It is bundled
Yes.
with.
What's the verse of Bhagavad Gita? Yahi
Yehi sansujja bhoga
Yes, very good, very good.
dukkhayonya evate
Yes, Master Mataji. Yahi sansparsaja bhoga dukkha yona evaya adi anta tu konteya na teshu ramate buddha. The problem with sense gratification is that it is, first of all, it causes misery, dukkha yona, and it has a beginning and end. Any material happiness, you want to eat something nice, how long can you eat? And if you eat more, what will happen? Stomach upset, dukkha, right? So it causes dukkha, the beginning and it has an end. Simple example, I said, eating pizzas or gulab jamun. But any form of sense gratification, we can see it has these three properties. So little intelligent person gives up this first category, low category of sensual happiness. But then many people get stuck in the second level, which is Brahmananda or happiness due to yoga. But these are also not permanent. This purpose in mystic yoga siddhis people, Anima, Laghima, one can become smaller than the smallest, one can become larger than the largest. So these are vibhutis in yoga. But a real person not right, because that is also temporary. And Prabhupada gives a nice example. Once a German scholar, so when he came, so when he saw the yogis, they can walk on water or they can do some siddhis. So what he said, the modern scientists already achieved all this. What is the use of doing 20 years yoga practice in Himalaya and you can walk on water? Bhaksan Thakur said you can pay 1 rupee to the boat wala, but those days 25 paisa, and he can make you cross the river. Or the yogis, they can fly in there, but these days we can have airplane, you can fly in there. So whatever modern scientists have achieved, already they have achieved. So no need to try for all this. And Brahmananda, although that is higher than Bhoga, but still that is compared to like a drop in front of the ocean of bhakti. So if you read further, we'll see how Prabhupada explains very nicely.
Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Let's skip because everything will get very late. So let's start from. Okay, let's start from here foolishly. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, where it is exactly in my book?
Just go down few paragraphs below. Paragraph starting with foolishly. Next page. You turn your page.
Foolishly, people who are enamored of the glimmer of modern materialistic advancement are thinking that the Krishna consciousness movement is for less intelligent men. I am better off being busy with my material comforts, maintaining a nice apartment, family, and sex life. These people do not know that at any moment they can be kicked out of their material situation. Due to ignorance, they do not know that real life is eternal. The temporary comforts of the body are not the goal of life, and it is due to only to darkest ignorance that people become enamored of the glimmering advancement of material comforts. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has therefore said that the advancement of material knowledge renders a person more foolish because it causes one to forget his real identity by its glimmer. This is doom for him because this human form of life is meant for getting out of material contamination. By the advancement of material knowledge, people are becoming more and more entangled in material existence. They have no hope of being from this catastrophe. In the Hari
Yes.
Bhakti Sudhodaya, it is stated that Prahlad Maharaj, a great devotee of the Lord, prayed to Narasimha, the half lion, half man incarnation as follows: My dear Lord, I repeatedly pray unto your lotus feet that I may simply be stronger in devotional. Simply pray that my Krishna consciousness may be more strong and steady, because happiness derived out of devotional service is so powerful that with it one can have all the development, sense gratification, even the attainment of liberation from material existence. Actually, a pure devotee does not aspire after any of these perfections because the happiness derived from devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so transcendental and so unlimited that no other happiness can compare to it. It is said that even one drop of happiness in Krishna consciousness stands beyond comparison with an ocean of happiness derived from any other activity. Thus, any person who has developed even a little quantity of pure devotional service can very easily kick out all other kinds of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation.
Okay.
There was a
Next paragraph is a very beautiful example Srila Prabhupada will give. So please continue reading. Yeah.
there was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as
Khola
Kolavecha
Vecha Sridhar.
Sridhara.
Yeah.
Kolavecha Sridhara, who was a very poor man. He was doing a small business selling cups made from the leaves of plantain trees, and his income was almost nothing. Still, he was spending 50% of his small income on the worship of the Ganges, and with the other 50%, he was somehow living. Lord Chaitanya once revealed himself to this confidential devotee, Kollavecha Sridhara, and offered him any opulence like. The informed the Lord that he did not want any material opulence. He was quite happy in his position and to gain unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. That is the position of pure devotees. If they can be engaged 24 hours each day in devotional service, they do not want anything else, not even the happiness of liberation or of becoming one with the Supreme.
Okay,
In
very
the
good.
Narad,
Okay. So I'll just quickly tell this very nice story of Khola Vecha Sridhar. So some of you may be knowing it. So Khola Vecha Sridhar was a very dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya. He used to sell khola, kola, this banana trees. So
Banana
leaves.
leaves. Banana
Yeah,
leaves.
banana leaves. And they make cups, dona isko bolte, dona. So he used to make like cups
Dona.
out of banana leaves. So
Yeah.
Khola Vecha Sridhar. So you can imagine it's not a very, what was the turnover, not much, he must be hardly getting some turnover. But in that also, he was so, his profit margin used to keep the minimum. Like businessmen, what they do, they maximize the profit. But his philosophy was minimize the profit. So all laws of economics will fail. So he had very little profit. And with that also, whatever his income was even 50% in the service of Mother Ganga. So you can imagine how poor he was. but still he was so happy. It is said that his clothes had so many knots you can't even count, because he had only one dhoti, and whenever it was torn, he used to tie a knot. Gaand bandh dete the वहां. In his house, it was always raining. I mean, it was always pouring. There's so many holes. The only furniture in his house was a pot, one pot, in which he used to drink, he used to bathe, and he should do everything in that one pot. Ek lota tha. So poor. But internally he was so happy. So all the time chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Whole night he used to chant. And neighbors used to say, Hare, this fellow, he doesn't have anything to eat. That's why he's crying out of hunger. They should throw some vegetables at him. Okay, take this loki, take this wagon. Where sabji pheng dete, take this and be quiet. But he was so happy within. The foolish people didn't understand. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to reveal his glories of his great devotee. So during Mahaprakash Leela, when he was revealing himself as the Supreme Lord, he called all great devotees, Haridas Thakur, Advaita Acharya. So then he said, call Khulave Sridhar. Nobody knew who is Khulave Sridhar, but Mahaprabhu said, no, go to that market and a person will be chanting very loudly, he's Khulave Sridhar. So devotees, they went there and brought Khulave Sridhar. The moment he saw Mahaprabhu, he fainted, and Mahaprabhu glorified him. And then he said, Sridhar, ask me something. What do you want? I can make you the ruler of the entire world. Please ask me something. I can give the opulence like Indra. But what Sridhar said? No, I don't want all this. Mujhe ye sab nahi chahiye. Mahaprabhu said, do you want Ashtasiddhis? Anima, Laghima, Kame, all these 8 mystic perfections? Sridhar said, no, my dear Lord, I don't want any of these things. Because he was tasting the bliss of bhakti. Therefore, the ananda of bhakti is highest. Nothing can compare to it. It is said, even forget about this, okay, one comparison, nice comparison I heard once. So this Brahmananda, one drop of Brahmananda, okay, so is actually like an ocean compared to material sense gratification. Or, how do we say? Ocean of material sense gratification is like a drop compared to Brahmananda. Got the point? But ocean of Brahmananda is like a drop compared to Bhakti Ananda. So you can see how insignificant is material sense gratification compared to Ananda in devotional service. Did you get this point? Okay, maybe I'll say in Hindi also. कि भक्ति का जो भौतिक इंद्र तृप्ति का जो सुख है, उसका एक सागर लेंगे तो उससे ज्यादा ऊंचा है ब्रह्मानंद का एक बूंद, जो ब्रह्म में जो आनंद आता है. लेकिन ब्रह्मानंद का अगर सागर लेंगे, उससे भी ज्यादा ऊंचा क्या है? भक्ति आनंद का एक
Krishna
बूंद.
consciousness.
I hope now it's clear to everyone.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
can people get Brahmananda in this world, and what does it look like?
I have never experienced Brahmananda, so I have no idea. But basically, it's like a zero state, because people in this world, they're suffering like negative material sense of it. It's like always dukha hi hona hai. Brahmananda means at least you realize that I am not this body. At least you realize that I am eternal, all the time existing. What they say in personally, Satyam.
Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya.
Yeah, Brahma Satyam, and also there is another thing that means at least you are situated in that platform.
Tattvamasi.
Tattvamasi, Satyam, Brahman, something like that. There is another term. So at least you reach to that platform of Brahman where you realize that I am different from this material body. So I am eternal. I am eternal part of the Supreme Brahman. So you come to that consciousness. That itself is much higher compared to karmi state. But even this Brahmananda is compared to like one drop in front of bhakti. Clear, Abhichetan? I mean,
Yes, sir.
okay, we'll cover one more today. So we covered first, how many we covered so far? Three, right? 3 characteristics of bhakti. There are 6. We'll do one more today, 4th one, and then we'll stop. Rareness of pure devotional service. Yeah, who'd like to read next? Yeah, Mahasundari Mataji. Yeah.
In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. And aspiring by oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not very hopeful, because Krishna doesn't agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he doesn't agree very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can, in fact, be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 19.151, it is said, by the mercy of the spiritual master, who is a pure devotee, and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way.
Okay. Okay. So what is this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Brahmanda Brahmite
Kono bhagyavan
Ono
ji.
Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Kripa Pai Bhakti Lata Vij. So this section is that how bhakti is rare, sudurlabha, very rare. Why? Because it can be obtained only by mercy of Guru and Krishna. And Krishna does not give bhakti easily. Who can say why? Okay, Abhay Chetan must be knowing except him, anyone else. Why Krishna does not give pure bhakti to very easily?
Because वो बंध जाते हैं. He
Yes.
says that I am bhakt paradhin.
Yeah, because he
दस
is then
दस
controlled by the
दस बनना
devotee.
10 बनना पड़ेगा.
So Krishna is controlled by his devotee. Like Mother Yashoda, she bound Krishna. So Krishna knows that if I give Shuddha Bhakti to someone, he can actually control me. Therefore, he's very careful. It's like power of attorney. You don't give power of attorney to anyone because someone has power of attorney, he can sell anything that you have. Like he has full control on you, something like that. So once you have bhakti, it's like you have full control on Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is very careful in giving pure bhakti. And we can get pure bhakti only by the mercy of pure devotees. So they are the authorized agents on behalf of Krishna who give us pure bhakti. Yes, Yashmati Nandan? Okay. Or Abhay Chetan Prabhu's son. Okay. So let's go back and okay, let's continue reading. Mahasundari Mataji, please continue reading.
The rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Lord Shiva says to Sati, my dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher analyzing the different processes of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions of the higher authority, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is completely free from the contamination of material desires. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 18, Shukadev Goswami also says to Maharaj Parikshit, "My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also our spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He is the only worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and he is the director of all your activities, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carry out your orders even if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others, all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport to this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee."
Yes, thank you. So this is the most important line. As I said, why Krishna does not give pure bhakti? Because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee. And who is the best example? The Pandavas are the best example. How Lord became their messenger. He became charioteer of Arjuna. He became the messenger. So he became the order carrier. This is the nature of Krishna, that he becomes subservient to his devotees. And therefore, this bhakti cannot be attained by one's own endeavor. In Mahaprabhu's Lila, there is another beautiful pastime. Once there was a brahmachari who was only drinking milk, not eating anything, only drinking milk. So he requested Srinivas, our Srivas Pandit, that I want to see the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he said, okay, you can hide in one corner and see. But Mahaprabhu, while dancing, he said, today I'm not feeling ecstasy. Some unqualified person has come here. Then who is that person? So Shiva said, my dear Lord, there's a very pure brahmachari, very austere, एक बहुत अच्छा तपस्वी है, खाली दूध पी के रहता है. So I allowed him to see your dance. Then Mahaprabhu became very angry. What? Do you think just by drinking milk, one can attain the qualification of seeing me or become devotee? No. One cannot attain pure bhakti by just doing tapasya. No, never. Or by doing yoga or by doing jnana. No, these are not ways to attain bhakti. There is a nice verse where Krishna says, Uddhava, I think, na sadheti mam yogo na. There is a nice verse that Uddhava says, Krishna says to Uddhava, that one cannot attain me by a lot of yoga, by a lot of dan, by a lot of tapasya. No. The only way to get bhakti is, what is the way to get bhakti then?
Seva, service.
Yes,
Mercy of your devotee.
Surrender.
mercy of pure devotees. Right? Guru Krishna Kripa Pai. That's the only way to get Shuddha Bhakti. So we covered 4 out of the 6 symptoms of pure devotional service. So we saw here. Can you see the chart? So we studied relief from material distress, Kleshagni. Then we studied Shubhada. And then we studied number 5, happiness. And number 4, Sudurlabha. Difficult. Only 2 are left. We'll cover it in the next class. Then we saw that how this vicious cycle of Bijam, Papam, Aprarabdha, Kutam. Then we saw the solution is Bhakti. Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, Bijam, Avidya, everything can be destroyed. The example of Prarabdha getting destroyed is 3rd canto, where it says that even a person born in Chandal family can do Bhakti. And the biggest proof is Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya
Swarnam Braja, Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Samaruddha.
Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo. Krishna says, I remove all your sins. The Prarabdha. Then aprarabdha, there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says that how devotional service destroys all our. Okay, then there is another. Okay, then bijam. What is the example of bijam? Ajamil section. And how by bhakti our bija is destroyed. Then avidya. So how avidya is destroyed? So two examples we saw. Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, where Sanat Kumar is saying to Pitu Maharaj, Bhaja Vasudevam. And then Padma Puran. What's that analogy we saw? That forest fire kills all the
snakes.
snakes. Then we saw how bhakti is all auspicious, all good qualities they develop. And then we saw that how this highest happiness is derived by bhakti, which is superior to all other processes like sense gratification, mystic yoga, liberation, etc. We saw the examples of Prahlad Maharaj, Narad Pancharutra. Then we saw the best example of who is the devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Kola Vijay Sridhar.
Kola Sridhar. Okay, and then the last section we read today, Sudurlabha, is very rare to achieve. Why? Because Krishna becomes purchased by devotee. Therefore, Krishna is reluctant to give it. Now, how do we attain pure bhakti? By the mercy of spiritual master. Okay, so two more things are left. Two more features. So we'll study in the next class. And now onwards, we'll go a little fast. I'm going a little slow because it's the beginning. So let's meet next Friday. We have 5 minutes. Any questions, any comments?
So, Prabhuji, from Jadananda to Brahmananda to Sevananda or Bhakti Ananda. So, like in material field, we see if we start from minus, then we have to come to 0 and then go to the plus.
Yes.
So, here, do you have to come to the stage of Brahmananda to attain Bhakti Ananda, or can we together, or how is it? What is the calculation?
Actually, it's like a jump. I mean, like Prabhupada says, staircase. So we sometimes take a bypass, like bhakti is like a bypass. You can easily go from negative to positive directly. Don't have to necessarily pass through 0. You just cross over 0. Or includes, Brahmananda is like a small drop. Like Prabhupada says, if you have a 2000 rupee note, you don't have to have 10 rupee note separately. 10 is how many? There are 210 rupees note inside a 2000 note. So Brahmananda is already there inside the Bhakti Ananda. It's a part of it. Or you can say for Brahmananda, what is the end point? Is the beginning point in Bhakti, in the Ananda of Bhakti.
So, what stage of Bhakti one starts feeling the Ananda?
Yes, so that's a nice question. So this Ananda is actually referring to the stage of Bhava and Prema. So there's two kinds of, very nice point actually. Maybe next class we can start with this discussion. So one Ananda is Kleshagni, when the material sufferings disappear. That is also one kind of Ananda. That is similar to, you can say, Brahmananda. But the actual Ananda of Bhakti, that is Sevananda, so that you can experience only at higher stage of Bhakti, like Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, where actually Nayanam Galadashudharaya, where actually you can experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So when you discuss the 9 stages of Bhakti also will be clear. So like we have Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha. So when Anartha Nivriti is finished, also we get some kind of Ananda. But that is lower state of Ananda. But later after Nishtha, then we get Ruchi, Asakti, Ruchi. That is the taste. Then that Ananda starts. Ruchi, then Bhava, and then Prema.
So, Prabhu, Anartha Nivritti takes a lot of time. So, how one maintains oneself without feeling the bliss for a long time in bhakti?
Yeah, that is a very good question. That's why in the initial stage of bhakti, we get some initial taste, like Narad Muni in first canto we see that initially he got bliss. He could experience that, Krishna. I mean, he could experience all his limbs, ecstasy in all limbs. In Bhagavatam we see. Then Krishna disappeared. Then he was very heartbroken. Then Krishna said, don't worry, I gave you this initial taste, but now you should do sadhana throughout your life and then you'll attain me. Therefore, initially in bhakti, we feel some kind of bliss. When we start chanting for the first time, when we start taking prasad. But that's like an initial glimpse, like a trailer. And then we have to actually go through the hard way. We finish the entire Anartha Nivritti, and then we'll come to the stage of Nishtha, Asakti, Ruchi.
So, one has to patiently wait for that. Huh?
Yes, that's for Utsaha, Nishya, Dharya. So we need to maintain our enthusiasm. So we need to actually read and hear Shastras. We need to have confidence that yes, I'll attain it one day. And also we need to have patience. Utsaha, Nishya, Dharya. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
That's why sometimes some people give up. That's another test. That Krishna's test how sincere we are. That, I mean, are we ready to pay that price and wait? Or we say, "Arey, theek hai, bahut try kar liya, isse to acha, Jadanandi better." You know, sometimes it's better we get some kind of happiness in material sense gratification. It happens sometimes. Even after performing bhakti for many years, one may get a feeling like that. But we just have to patiently cross to that stage, pray for the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then we can pass through that stage. It's like walking through the desert. Not easy, but you must have the faith that very soon I'll cross the desert and I'll reach a very fertile land.
Sometimes what happens, because a sadhaka doesn't get sufficient taste from bhakti, so he says, okay, I'll wait for that taste, but simultaneously let me take some Jadananda as well. Okay, वो भी चल रहा है और वो भी चलने दो, दोनों चलने दो.
You are right. That happens sometimes, but that is why we get, even in sadhaka stage, therefore association. So when you go for some nice sadhu sangha, we do nice kirtan, we hear katha, so still we get, although we are not at that stage, but someone who's that stage, by his mercy, we can get little bit. That's why higher association is important. That's why we must associate with advanced devotees, because in the association, because they are experiencing that higher happiness, so we also get a glimpse of that. And therefore Mahaprabhu has given this process of kirtan. So when actually we see that when advanced devotees do kirtan and we participate intensely, we actually feel sometimes this happiness. Yes, you are right. Therefore, if if we keep bhakti very dry, it's difficult to sustain. Therefore, you must take out some time to go to Holy Dham, to associate with advanced devotees. That will give us that taste to continue in bhakti.
Yeah, Monday retreat.
Yes, very good. So we're having a retreat in IIT Mandi in the month of June, where we can get association of Leela Purushottam Prabhuji. Right. So we should not miss out such opportunities. Very important for bhakti. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. So thank you very much for joining and giving me a chance so that I could also read Prabhupada books and discuss. So let's meet on Friday. So I request that please attend the classes, because we'll try to cover by end of April this entire book. So Hare Krishna. Krishna Prabhupada ki jai. Bhakti
Hare Krishna.